The moment I opened my eyes, I knew I'd been dropped into a novel. And not as the hero, either. I was Ethan Hayes, the villain everyone loved to hate. Rows of text, like comments on a live stream, scrolled past my vision. Here we go, guys. His fiancée, Chloe, is about to run off with a broke college kid. Cue the possessive psycho move, where he locks her in the mansion. Yup, that's what pushes her over the edge for good. After she escapes this time, she never comes back. I had a laugh. So that's how the script was supposed to go. Chloe knelt before me, suitcase in hand, her eyes glistening with tears as she begged me to let her go. Lock the door. Come on, do it. Time for the meltdown. Instead, I swung the heavy oak door wide open. I even picked up her suitcase and placed it gently on the porch for her. Chloe just froze, her kneeling position suddenly looking ridiculous. She'd probably prepared a whole dramatic speech, bracing herself for my rage, for me to drag her back inside, maybe even hit her. But I just smiled. Be careful on your way out, I said. The commentary floating in front of me went absolutely berserk. Did my stream just buffer? Is the author having connection issues? This isn't the script. Why isn't he freaking out? Did Ethan get body swapped or something? LOL, what's with this villain? Sudden personality transplant? This has to be the calm before the storm. He's gonna drag her back any second now. Totally. He's playing it cool, letting her go just so he can hunt her down. He's making the game more interesting. Chloe was clearly thinking the same thing. She looked up, her tear-streaked face a mixture of suspicion and alarm. Ethan, what kind of game are you playing? I crouched down to her level and gently wiped a tear from her cheek with my thumb. Her whole body went rigid. What game could I be playing? I said softly, if your heart is already gone, what's the point in keeping your body here? Go find your true love. I hope you'll be very happy together. With that, I stood up, turned my back on her, and started to close the door. Chloe's expression shifted from shock to a deep, burning humiliation. My indifference was clearly a greater insult than any shouting match would have been. She scrambled to her feet, grabbed her suitcase, and stormed off into the night without a backward glance. Whoa, she actually left. Is Ethan an idiot? His girl just ran off with another dude, and he's smiling? This is next-level simping. If you love someone, set them free. Give me a break. Just wait. I'll bet you a bag of flamin' hot Cheetos he'll regret this in 5 minutes and send a security team on a citywide manhunt. I ignored the noisy pop-ups and slowly shut the front door, sealing out the cold night air. The massive foyer was empty. The original Ethan had dismissed all the household staff to have some quality time alone with Chloe. I walked over to the bar, poured myself a glass of Cabernet, and dialed my assistant. The call connected almost instantly. Mr. Hayes, mark a few things. First, cancel all of Chloe's supplementary credit cards. Second, reclaim the house in Westchester I let her parents use. Give them 3 days to vacate. Third, terminate all existing contracts with her father's company. Effective immediately. There were 3 full seconds of dead silence on the other end before Mark's hesitant voice came back. Sir, did you and Ms. Chloe have a fight? No, I said, swirling the wine in my glass, my tone light. We broke up. She's gone off to pursue true love, and I felt I should help her on her way. On that note, have everything she left in this house packed up and delivered to the nearest dump. Holy ST, he's not just burning the bridge. He's nuking her entire family from orbit. That's stone cold. 1 second it's, I wish you happiness. The next it's, I'm bankrupting your whole family. Now that's a villain. Ima fun. I give that move a 10/10. Chloe is going to lose her mind. I hung up and took a sip of wine. It was a good vintage. My mood was improving by the second. I scrolled through my contacts until I found a number I hadn't called in a long, long time. Claire Vanderbilt. It rang for a while before she picked up, her voice thick with sleep. Ethan, it's me, Claire, I said, leaning back on the sofa and gazing out at the city lights. Sorry to call so late. I was just wondering, are you free for dinner tomorrow? Another long silence. So long I thought she might have hung up. You and Chloe. We're done. As of tonight. Okay, she said, her voice suddenly clear and bright, laced with an excitement she couldn't quite hide. What time tomorrow? I'm free all day. I'll pick you up at 10 in the morning. I ended the call, a genuine smile spreading across my face. The commentary was still scrolling frantically, trying to make sense of the villain who refused to follow the plot. What is happening? I don't understand this storyline anymore. He breaks up and immediately calls a new girl? That's not a rebound. That's a flawless transition. Who's Claire? Was she in the original book? Spoilers. Anyone? At newbie Claire Vanderbilt is the childhood friend he grew up with. The gorgeous, super rich girl he brutally rejected for Chloe in the original story. Oh my God, what is he planning? I saw that last comment and chuckled. Planning? Oh, I was just getting started. The next morning, I was parked outside Claire's apartment building right at 10. She stepped out wearing a cream-colored dress under a light tan trench coat, her long hair falling over her shoulders. Her makeup was subtle, and she looked effortlessly elegant. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up in a way she couldn't conceal. Wow, the second female lead is stunning. Way classier than Chloe. Is this what old money elegance looks like? I'm in love. Ethan must have been blind for years, chasing after that ungrateful brat Chloe when he had someone like this right beside him. I opened the passenger door for her, and she slid gracefully into the seat. What are you in a mood for? I asked. Anything is fine. You pick, she said, her eyes curving into beautiful crescents as she smiled. I drove us to an exclusive, members-only bistro downtown. The ambience was quiet and the privacy was absolute. After we ordered, Claire finally asked the question that was on her mind. Did you really break up with Chloe? Why so suddenly? It wasn't sudden, I said, pouring her a cup of tea. Some things you just realized you should have seen clearly a long time ago. I didn't explain about the whole transmigrating into a novel thing. I let her assume it was a moment of clarity. Claire didn't press for details, her expression a mix of sympathy and joy. Lunch was wonderful. We talked about when we were kids, and the atmosphere was so relaxed you'd never guess I just ended a serious relationship hours before. See? These two just click. They feel like the real couple. Duh. They got that childhood friend chemistry. Chloe the interloper could never compete. Is he just using Claire as a rebound because Chloe hurt him? Kind of feel bad for her if that's the case. Shut up, you don't get it. This is him finally coming to his senses. Halfway through the meal, my phone started vibrating. A call from Chloe. I glanced at the screen, hit the silence button, and placed the phone face down on the table. Claire noticed the gesture, her eyes flickering for a second, but she didn't say anything. The phone buzzed again and again, relentlessly. I finally just turned it off completely. If you don't want to take it, don't, Claire said softly. Don't let anyone irrelevant ruin the mood. I smiled. You're right. After lunch, I drove Claire home. When we pulled up to her building, she unbuckled her seatbelt, but didn't immediately get out. Ethan, she said, looking at me with serious eyes. Whatever you decide to do, I'll support you. Thank you, Claire. She suddenly leaned over and planted a soft, quick kiss on my cheek. Then, like a startled rabbit, she pushed open the door and practically ran into her building. I touched my cheek where she'd kissed me, watched her disappear into the lobby, and let out a laugh. OMG, OMG, he got kissed. I ship it. I ship them so hard I'm swallowing the key. Chloe is probably going to have an aneurysm when she finds out about this. LMAO. The antsy commentary didn't bother me. I turned my phone back on. A flood of notifications for dozens of missed calls poured in, all from Chloe. They were followed by a text message. Ethan, what is this? Why are all my cards declined? Are you trying to use this to force me to come back? Let me tell you, it's not going to work. I deleted the message without a flicker of emotion. When I got home, my assistant Mark was waiting for me in the living room. Mr. Hayes, all of Ms. Chloe's belongings have been disposed of. Good. Also, regarding the house in Westchester. Mark hesitated. Mrs. Miller called. She said, you can't be this cruel. Tell her the law is concerned with property rights. The deed is in my name. I decide who lives there. And if I don't want someone living there, they can get out. My voice was ice. Damn, he's so ruthless. I love it. That's how you deal with a family of leeches. No merci. Mark visibly shivered. Yes, sir. I understand. After he left, I got another text. It was from Leo, using Chloe's phone. Ethan, you're nothing but a pathetic coward who uses money to bully women. Breaking up with you was the best decision Chloe ever made. As long as I'm here, I won't let her suffer for a second. We don't want a single penny of your filthy money. The text was accompanied by a photo. In it, Chloe was crying in Leo's arms while he held her, glaring defiantly at the camera. The background looked like a cheap, rundown apartment. And here he is, the broke boy's declaration of war. LOL, says he doesn't want the filthy money while he's pissed off his girlfriend's cards got canceled. The hypocrisy is real. Chloe's taste in men is something else. Traded a gold mine for a charity case. I looked at the picture with an amused smile. I typed out a quick reply and sent it. Got it. By the way, I forgot to mention, I had dinner with Dean Miller from your university yesterday. He was very interested in a new grant I'm funding for promising student entrepreneurs. As student body president, I'm sure you'll have a shot. Good luck. After sending it, I blocked the number. What was that? Slap them and then offer them candy? No, wait. That's a poison candy. I get it. Ethan's going to build Leo up just to tear him down. This is brilliant. That idiot Leo is going to think he's being recognized for his talent. Oh, Mayo, this is going to be good. He was right. The game was just getting started. I was going to help Leo climb as high as he could, just to make the fall that much more spectacular. And I was going to make sure Chloe had a front row seat to watch her pure love get crushed into dust by the real world. The next few days were quiet. Chloe and Leo left me alone, apparently starting their new life of noble poverty together. I went on a few more dates with Claire, dinner, an art exhibit, and things between us were heating up quickly. The sentiment in the commentary had completely shifted. Ethan and Claire are so perfect together. It's all just good vibes and sweetness. I've already forgotten who Chloe is. I just want to see Chloe and Leo get what's coming to them. Hurry up. I had no intention of disappointing my audience. That week, I got a call from Dean Miller, the head of Leo's department at the university. Mr. Hayes, about that grant for student entrepreneurs, we've selected a few outstanding candidates. I was wondering when you might have some time to come by and offer your guidance. No trouble at all, Dean, I said with a smile. How about this Friday afternoon? I can stop by the campus. Wonderful. I'll make the arrangements. On Friday afternoon, I had my driver take me to the university in one of my less flashy sedans. Dean Miller and a few other faculty members were waiting to greet me enthusiastically in front of the administration building. We made our way to a conference room where a handful of nervous students were already waiting. My eyes immediately landed on Leo, standing right in the center of the group. He was wearing a faded old suit, his hair meticulously combed, but he couldn't hide the triumphant gleam in his eyes. When he saw me walk in, he froze, a flicker of shock and suspicion crossing his face. LMAO, here we go. The main event. This is going to be so awkward. Leo, why is the world so small? Ethan, it's not. I just own it. Dean Miller, oblivious to our history, proudly made the introduction. Mr. Hayes, this is our top student, Leo Martinez. His business proposal was the most impressive and well-developed of the bunch. Leo forced himself forward and stuck out his hand, managing a smile that looked more like a grimace. Mr. Hayes, it's an honor. I ignored his hand, gave him a curt nod, and took a seat at the head of the table. Let's begin. The atmosphere turned awkward. Leo slowly retracted his hand. He took a deep breath and launched into his presentation, an app focused on peer-to-peer services for college students. I had to admit, he was a good speaker, and his presentation was slick. The professors around the table nodded in approval. Even some of the comments were grudgingly positive. Okay, the guy's a scumbag, but the idea isn't terrible. He actually sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Maybe he really is a diamond in the rough. Get real. It's all talk. A broke kid like him can't build a real business. When Leo finished, the room broke into applause. Dean Miller looked at me expectantly. Well, Mr. Hayes, what do you think? I leaned back in my chair, lightly tapping my fingers on the table, saying nothing. The room fell silent. Every eye was on me. Beads of sweat started to form on Leo's forehead as he stared at me, his expression a tangled mess of hope and fear. After a long moment, I finally spoke. The concept is decent, but it's hopelessly naive. I proceeded to systematically dismantle his entire business plan, pointing out one fatal flaw after another, from his monetization strategy and marketing channels to the potential legal risks. I tore it to shreds. Leo's face went from red to white, then to a sickly shade of green. He tried to argue, but every point I made was a direct hit, leaving him speechless. The smiles on the professors' faces slowly vanished, replaced by looks of serious concern. Damn, that's the difference between a pro and an amateur. This is a complete takedown. Leo is getting destroyed. So satisfying. I love seeing him squirm like that. Finally, I delivered my summary. However, I said, my tone shifting, it's good for a young person to have ambition. While the project is amateurish, I'm personally willing to put up $500,000 in seed money to let you give it a shot. The entire room gasped. Dean Miller and the professors were beaming. Leo stared at me in utter disbelief, his eyes filled with suspicion. Is Ethan crazy? He's actually giving him the money? I don't get it, but I'm hooked. It's a trap. It has to be a trap. I stood up, walked over to Leo, and clapped him on the shoulder. Work hard. I have high hopes for you. Don't let your girlfriend down. I put a special emphasis on the word girlfriend. Leo's body went rigid, and his face turned pale. He finally understood. This wasn't an endorsement. It was a humiliation. I was using my money to show him that everything he had, including the business idea he was so proud of, was nothing more than pocket change I could casually toss his way. Ignoring his look of utter mortification, I exchanged a few pleasantries with Dean Miller and walked out of the university, basking in the admiring glances of the faculty. I knew Leo would take the money. It was his only chance to prove himself, to escape poverty. And I knew Chloe would encourage him to take it. She was already tired of being poor. That $500,000 was a hook, dipped in honey. It would snag them both, and then, slowly, I would reel them into the abyss I had prepared. Things unfolded just as I expected. The very next day, a company called Leo and Chloe Innovations was officially registered. Leo was the CEO, and Chloe was the company's only other employee. Leo and Chloe Innovations? Ugh, I think I'm going to be sick. Using her ex-fiancé's money to start a company named after herself and her new boyfriend. The audacity of this woman is legendary. Don't they feel like that money is cursed? Of course they didn't. In their minds, Leo had earned that investment through sheer talent. It was proof that I was the one who had misjudged him, a trial to test their love. Soon enough, a new post appeared on Chloe's Instagram. It was a picture of a small office, shot with a flattering filter to make it look trendy. The caption read, "A new beginning, working hard with the one I love. The future is bright." A bunch of our mutual friends liked and commented. "Chloe, you started a business? That's amazing. Is that with Leo? Congrats you too. Wishing you all the success." Claire sent me a screenshot of the post, followed by a vomiting emoji. I replied with a pat on the head emoji. She messaged back instantly. "Are you free tonight? My parents want to meet you." My heart skipped a beat. I replied, "Of course. Meeting the parents. It's happening. Is this a speedrun to marriage?" Ethan is a legend. His ex just started a company, and he's already meeting the in-laws. Chloe is going to be so mad when she finds out. That evening, I arrived at the Vanderbilt residence with a carefully selected gift. Their home wasn't as ostentatious as my family's estate, but it was filled with an understated, academic elegance. Claire's father was a distinguished-looking man, and her mother was a graceful woman who had aged beautifully. They both greeted me with genuine smiles. "Ethan, you're here. Please, come in," her mother said warmly. "Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt, thank you for having me." Her father studied me for a moment, then nodded in approval. "You look more grounded than before, Ethan. Like you've grown up." I knew he was referring to my past, well-publicized obsession with Chloe. Dinner was a pleasant affair. Claire's parents subtly inquired about my future plans and my intentions toward their daughter. I answered them honestly. "Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt, I was foolish in the past, and I let Claire down. I see things clearly now, and Claire is the only person I want to spend my life with. With your permission, I'd like to make things official and propose as soon as possible." As the words left my mouth, Claire's face turned bright red. Her parents exchanged a look, both of them smiling with satisfaction. "We will be delighted. We've watched you two grow up together and have been waiting for this day for years," her mother said excitedly. And just like that, the engagement was settled. When I was leaving, Claire walked me to the door. A gentle evening breeze was blowing, and the sparkle in her eyes outshone the stars. "Ethan, am I dreaming?" "No," I said, taking her hand. "You'll have to get used to it. My fiancé." She stood on her toes and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. I didn't go out of my way to announce the news. But in our social circle, word travels fast. The news that the Hayes and Vanderbilt families were joining through marriage spread like wildfire. The next day, I got a call from Chloe's mother. The moment I answered, I was met with a shrill, hysterical cry. Ethan Hayes, you heartless bastard. Our Chloe breaks up with you, and a few days later you're engaged to someone else? What was she to you? Just something to be thrown away. Here we go. The crazy mother-in-law has arrived, right on schedule. What right does she have to call him? Her daughter is the one who ran off. I held the phone away from my ear until her screaming subsided, then spoke coldly. Mrs. Miller, first, your daughter and I are no longer together. Who I get engaged to is my business. Second, let's be clear, your daughter cheated on me first. And third, if you ever call to harass me again, my lawyers will be in touch. I hung up. A few minutes later, Chloe called. Her voice was choked with tears and full of accusation. Ethan, you're engaged to Claire Vanderbilt? Is it true? Yes. Why, she shrieked. You said you loved me. You said you would never marry anyone but me. It's only been a few days. How could you fall in love with someone else? Her logic was so twisted it was almost funny. Chloe, are you insane? I shot back. You're the one who ran off with another man. You have a nerve to ask me why I've moved on? In your world, was I supposed to just sit here, heartbroken and alone, waiting for you to get tired of playing house so you could come back to your safety net? The line went silent, except for the sound of her suppressed sobs and Leo's voice comforting her in the background. Chloe, don't cry, he's not worth it. I sneered. And another thing, don't let your broke boyfriend act like he's a big shot with my money. That $500,000 was a handout. Remind him that if he's going to spend my money, he'd better make that company work. Otherwise, there will be consequences. Ethan, you're an asshole. Chloe screamed before slamming down the phone. Ha 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 ha. That was perfect. Absolutely perfect. A verbal execution. Ethan's tongue is a lethal weapon. He just stomped all over Chloe's ego and Leo's pride in one go. Brilliant. I put down my phone, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. I knew that today, the first crack had appeared in Chloe and Leo's beautiful little fantasy. The seeds of doubt had been planted. After that phone call, Chloe and Leo went quiet for a long time. Their company, on the surface, seemed to be doing well. Leo used the $500,000 to quickly assemble a small team. The first version of their app launched and was promoted heavily within their university. Because the project met a real campus need and had the full backing of the student government, the initial user data was surprisingly strong. Leo started giving interviews to campus media, becoming the poster child for the underdog success story. For a moment, he was a local celebrity. Chloe's Instagram became even more active. She posted pictures of the office, the team working late, and charts showing user growth. Every caption oozed with pride. A few dissenting voices started popping up in my commentary feed again. Damn, that app actually looks pretty legit. Was Ethan wrong? Is Leo actually some kind of genius? To do all that with just $500K. If he had real funding, he could be unstoppable. Patience, people. Let the story play out. I'm sure Ethan has a trump card. Of course I had a trump card. I looked down at the operational report on Leo and Chloe innovations that my assistant had just handed me. A cold smirk played on my lips. The impressive user numbers were all fake, bought, and paid for. He was burning through my money to make himself look good. A classic fool's gambit. Mr. Hayes, should we expose them now? Mark asked. Not yet, I said, tossing the report aside. Let him fly a little higher. The higher he gets, the more it will hurt when he falls. My engagement party with Claire was set for the following month. The venue was the 7-star hotel owned by my family, and the guest list included every influential person in the city. I made a special point of having an invitation sent to Chloe's parents. Damn, not only is he twisting the knife, he's inviting her parents to watch. Inviting your ex's parents to your engagement party with your new fiancé? This is some next-level psychological warfare. LOL. If the Millers go, it's humiliating. If they don't, they're officially cutting ties with the Hayes family. What a power move. In the end, they came. Chloe's parents, dressed in their finest, wore painfully stiff smiles as they shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They tried to approach me, but I spent the entire evening mingling with Claire and our guests, never giving them an opening. During the ceremony, I took Claire's hand and, in front of everyone, slipped a magnificent diamond ring onto her finger. Her eyes welled up with happy tears. She looked like a princess. The hall erupted in applause. I glanced over and saw Chloe's parents in the corner, their faces ashen. After the ceremony, I took a glass of champagne and, with Claire on my arm, casually made my way over to them. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, thank you for coming, I said with a smile, my tone polite yet distant. Ethan, Mrs. Miller started, her eyes darting between me and Claire, her lips moving but no words coming out. This is my fiancée, Claire Vanderbilt, I introduced. It's a pleasure to meet you, Claire said with perfect grace. Mr. Miller's face was pale, but he managed to force out a few words. We wish you both happiness. Thank you, I nodded. Then, as if the thought had just occurred to me, I asked, by the way, how is Chloe doing? I heard she and her boyfriend started a business. It sounds like it's going quite well. So ambitious. At the mention of Chloe, her mother seemed to find her voice again. Oh yes, our Chloe and that young man, Leo, they have such drive. They're making it on their own, without any help. The company is really taking off. Her voice was strained, trying to project a pride she clearly didn't feel. I smiled. Is that so? That's wonderful. In fact, I recently met a few angel investors who are very interested in university startups. Since their company has so much potential, perhaps I could make an introduction. Their eyes lit up. Really? Oh, Ethan, that would be wonderful. Here it comes. The hook is back in the water. I knew it was too good to be true. There's no such thing as a free lunch, especially from a vengeful ex. And these two idiots are actually falling for it. Right there in front of them, I made a call. I kept it brief, simply recommending Leo and Chloe Innovations to a so-called Mr. King and giving him Leo's contact information. After hanging up, I turned back to them. Mr. King is very interested in their project. He'll be in touch with Leo soon. I hope it helps. Ethan, you're such a good man. We completely misjudged you. Mrs. Miller gushed, nearly incoherent with excitement. I just smiled, took Claire's arm, and walked away, leaving them to shower my retreating back with thanks. Claire squeezed my arm and whispered, Are you really helping them? I'm helping them, and I'm helping myself, I said, a cunning glint in my eye, helping them crash and burn a little faster. I knew the real storm was about to hit. This Mr. King was, of course, an actor I'd hired. His job was to paint Leo a beautiful picture, a dream of millions in funding, of taking the company public, of becoming a titan of industry. And then, right when Leo was at the peak of his arrogance, he would personally shatter that dream into a million pieces. Mr. King was highly efficient. 3 days after the engagement party, Leo got the call. According to the informant I had planted in their little company, Leo was ecstatic. Chloe was just as excited. They celebrated that night at a fancy restaurant, blowing through half a month's living expenses in one meal. Ha, the fish is on the line. Half a month's budget on one dinner. This hardworking couple is really living a simple life. I can just picture Leo on the phone, practically bowing to a man who doesn't exist. Mr. King played his part perfectly. He lavished praise on Leo's project and expressed a strong intent to invest. But then he added a condition. Before the deal was finalized, he needed to see a more serious market performance. For example, getting the app's daily active users up to 10,000 within 2 weeks. For a new startup, this was a nearly impossible task. But for Leo, who was already blinded by the promise of millions, it was just a challenge to be overcome. And so, Leo and Chloe Innovations began a frantic, cash-burning marketing blitz. Street teams, campus influencer collaborations, cash rewards for downloads. They tried everything. The $500,000 I'd given them started disappearing like water through a sieve. Chloe threw herself into the effort, even calling in favors from old friends to help promote the app. The company's bank account was draining rapidly, but the user data was climbing at an astonishing rate. 2 weeks later, they had miraculously hit their target of 10,000 daily active users. A triumphant Leo sent the impressive report to Mr. King. TSK. It's all fake data. What's the point? Do they really think investors are that stupid? They can spot fake numbers a mile away. The point is the investor is also fake. Mr. King expressed his profound admiration for their execution and invited them to the firm's headquarters in New York City to discuss the final details of the investment. Leo and Chloe were so excited they couldn't sleep. They booked flights to New York and started fantasizing about how they would expand the company and move into a bigger office once the money came through. The day before they left, Chloe sent me a text message. "Ethan, thank you. Even though we're over, I'll remember what you did for us. Leo and I are heading to New York to meet our investors. Our company is about to make it big." Her tone was dripping with condescension and a sort of smug gratitude, as if to say, "See, we're better off without you." I read the text, smiled, and didn't reply. The next day, they flew to New York, their hearts full of hope. They found the address Mr. King had given them, a prestigious skyscraper in the heart of the financial district. But when they got to the front desk, the receptionist politely informed them that no such investment firm had ever been a tenant in the building. They tried calling Mr. King's number again and again. Each time, the call went straight to a recorded message. "The number you have dialed has been disconnected." Ah ha 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 ha. Here it is. The scene I've been waiting for. They made it all the way there, and the company, the investor. None of it was real. I am dying. I can just picture the two of them standing there on Wall Street, staring up at the skyscrapers with their jaws on the floor. It's cinematic. According to my informant, Chloe and Leo stood outside that skyscraper from morning until night. Their initial certainty slowly gave way to doubt, then to suspicion, and finally to crushing despair. Chloe broke down, crying right there on the sidewalk. Leo's face was paler than a ghost. They finally realized they had been scammed. It was all an elaborate hoax. The fatal blow was that in their desperate push to inflate the user data, they'd spent every last cent in the company's bank account. They didn't even have enough money for plane tickets back home. Humiliation, rage, despair. In that moment, they were drowning in it. And just then, as they were at their absolute lowest, Leo's phone rang. It was me, call from a new number. "Hello, is this Leo?" Who is this?" His voice was hoarse, full of exhaustion and suspicion. "Who isn't important," I said with a light chuckle. "I'm just calling to remind you that your app has been removed from the App Store for data fraud and violating promotional policies. Also, you're about 6 months behind on your server payments, which comes to around $100,000. Oh, and your employees' salaries are due this week, aren't they?" With every sentence I spoke, I could hear his breathing grow more ragged. "And one last thing, when you registered the company, you signed an agreement with me personally. Did you forget? If the project fails, you're personally liable for the full $500,000 debt." "It was you. Ethan Hayes. It was you." Leo finally snapped, his voice a desperate roar over the phone. "You set this all up. You despicable, shameless bastard." "That's right," I admitted calmly. "I did. How does it feel? The fall from the clouds back down to the mud. Is it as bad as you imagined?" "Don't worry. This is just the appetizer," I said, my voice turning to ice. "The game has just begun." I hung up. I knew that in that moment, Leo and Chloe were trapped in a true nightmare, and I was about to deliver their final, damning blow. Stranded in New York, Chloe and Leo eventually had to borrow money from friends to crawl back home. They returned to a complete disaster. The company bank account was empty. Server providers were demanding payment. Employees were protesting for their wages. The app was gone. And now Leo was personally on the hook for a $500,000 debt. The campus startup hero had become a pariah overnight. Rumors of his fraud and failure to pay his staff spread across the university. Dean Miller called him in for a meeting, his disappointment palpable. His fall from grace was as swift as his rise had been spectacular. Chloe lost all her former arrogance. She stopped posting on social media and avoided her friends, holed up with Leo in their tiny apartment, where arguments became their new normal. She blamed Leo for being stupid enough to fall for the scam. He blamed her for being materialistic, claiming her constant pressure to succeed had made him reckless. Their supposedly unbreakable true love shattered under the first real test. I love to see it. Let them tear each other apart. Finally, the fighting starts. Place your bets. So this is the pure love they were chasing? What a joke. While they were at each other's throats, I had my lawyers officially serve Leo with a legal notice to reclaim the $500,000 debt. That letter was the final straw. For them, $500,000 was an impossible, life-destroying sum. Desperate, Chloe called me one last time. Her voice was no longer accusatory, just filled with a pathetic, pleading whimper. "Ethan, please, just let us go. We can't pay back that money. Leo is falling apart. I listened to her cry, feeling nothing at all. You can't pay it back? I asked with a soft laugh. Who was it that proudly declared you didn't want my filthy money? And who was it that took my money to start a company named after the two of you and show it off to the world? I was wrong. Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please, for the sake of what we used to have, help us one last time. Just this once. What we used to have. I countered. Where was that when you were running off with another man? Where was it when your mother was screaming at me over the phone? Where was it when you were posting on Instagram about how happy you were without me? My rapid-fire questions left her speechless, capable only of choked sobs. Chloe, you made your choice. The moment you walked out that door with your suitcase, you should have known it would come to this. My tone softened slightly, but I can forgive the debt. On one condition. She latched onto the words like a drowning woman grabbing a lifeline. What condition? I'll do anything, if you'll just leave Leo alone. Here it is, the classic ultimatum. Is it going to make her come back and be his maid? Or make her sleep with him? Nah, Ethan's got more class than that. My bet. He's going to make her publicly humiliate Leo. Slowly, I reveal my terms. It's simple. I want you and Leo to go to the courthouse. Immediately. And get married. The silence on the other end was absolute. Chloe must have thought she'd misheard me. After a long moment, she stammered. What did you say? I said. I repeated, enunciating each word. I want you to get married. As soon as I receive a photo of your marriage certificate, the $500,000 debt will be erased. Otherwise, I'll see you in court. Why? She whispered, her voice breaking. Why would you do this? Are you just trying to get revenge? You could see it that way, I said. I want to see for myself just how strong this true love you chose really is. Or maybe it isn't even worth $500,000. I hung up the phone. This condition was crueler than any physical punishment or financial ruin. I knew that right now. Chloe regretted ever meeting Leo. And I knew Leo must hate Chloe for dragging him into this mess. To force them to be legally bound to each other for the rest of their lives, shackled together by debt and mutual resentment. That was the perfect ending I had designed for them. That's brutal. Ethan, you're a monster. This isn't just revenge. This is high art. He's not just killing them. He's roasting them over a slow fire for eternity. I leaned back on the sofa, swirling my wine, completely at ease. I was waiting for a wedding photo filled with nothing but misery and regret. I didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, a photo appeared in my email. Against a plain red backdrop, Chloe and Leo sat side by side. Chloe's eyes were swollen and red, her face pale. She was forcing a smile, so strained it looked more like a grimace. Beside her, Leo stared at the floor, his expression dark, his face a mask of humiliation and defeat. The golden couple of yesterday were now a portrait of mutual misery. Ha 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 ha. The saddest wedding photo of the year. You can feel the despair right through the screen. Chloe, I've made a huge mistake. Leo, I hate my life. Ethan just nailed these two to a cross of their own making. Legendary. I saved the photo with satisfaction, then forwarded it to my lawyer. The debt is forgiven. Once that was done, I deleted the photo and erased every trace of them from my life. As far as I was concerned, their story was over. A month later, Chloe and Leo held their wedding. It was less a celebration and more a perfunctory, miserable ceremony held in a cheap banquet hall with only a few tables of reluctant relatives. Chloe wore a rented dress, her face caked in makeup that couldn't hide her exhaustion. Leo wore the same faded old suit, moving like a puppet through the proceedings, his face utterly blank. The officiant droned on with generic blessings while the guests picked at their food, the air thick with awkwardness. Suddenly, the doors to the hall swung open. I walked in with Claire on my arm. I was dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, and Claire was radiant in a custom-made champagne-colored gown. We looked every bit the power couple, and our entrance brought the entire room to a dead halt. The final boss has arrived to survey his work. Oh my God. The contrast is just devastating. On one side, the shining, happy, successful couple. On the other, the miserable newlyweds. The visual is just chef's kiss. On the stage, Chloe and Leo went pale. Chloe swayed, nearly fainting. Leo's hands were clenched in a fist so tight his knuckles were white, his eyes burning with pure hatred. I ignored them and walked over to Chloe's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, please forgive the intrusion. I handed them a thick envelope filled with cash, a small gift to congratulate Chloe on her wedding day. The looks on their faces were priceless. I didn't linger. I led Claire to an empty spot at the main table and sat down as if I owned the place. The entire hall was silent. Every eye darted back and forth between us and the couple on stage. The officiant stammered, completely losing his place. After a painfully long pause, the ceremony creaked back into motion. The ring exchange, the kiss. Leo practically shoved the ring onto Chloe's finger, and the kiss was a brief, passionless peck, full of resentment. I saw a single tear finally escape Chloe's eye, tracing a path through her thick foundation, shattering the last remnants of her pride and her foolish dreams. I raised my glass, gave her a silent toast from across the room, and drank it down in one go. What a spectacular show. After the wedding, Claire and I walked out of the banquet hall into the bright afternoon sun. Is it over? Claire asked. Yes, it's over. I took her hand, looked into her brilliant eyes, and said, Claire, let's get married too. She froze for a second, her eyes turning glassy, then nodded fiercely. Okay. I smiled and pulled her into my arms. My own story was just beginning. As for those other people, they could stay in the past where they belonged. End.